This is the first company out of Israel, and it is Diane Eisner of Waze. Come on up, Diane.
Hello. Okay, hi. Waze is trying to help drivers answer one question. And the question is, which route should I take right now, based on real-time what's happening from drivers nearby you? So to do this, we've created an application that's for use for everyday driving. We're hoping that people will use it every time they get into the car. It includes free real-time voice-guided turn-by-turn navigation, traffic, road reports from drivers around you on the roads, as well as social and gaming features. So let's just pretend we're going on a little ride using Waze, because there's no GPS here. And you can see, again, in real time, what's happening. So there's construction on this bridge. This is the kind of information we'll get to. But we're also going to try to figure out how we can shave minutes off of your commute every single day. So in this case, it will take you 17 minutes to get there. One of the other alternate routes may have been the right thing for 10 minutes later or 10 minutes prior. So we're going along the road. We can see the speed that traffic is moving. Importantly, you can see other people around you, so you have a sense that you're not alone while you're on the road. You can tell who's actually creating this information. And you'll notice that it's more optimistic and more fun than your typical navigation service. So you've got lollipops and cupcakes and this kind of thing on the road. If you drive a little bit out of your way, what you're doing is you're giving us information where we don't have much at that time. You get points, and in return, we get the better data. Primarily, it's passive, but you can also report if you're stopped. You can report on police, on hazards, on traffic, and if you've reached your destination and, again, are not moving because we can tell if, what your speed is, then we'll be able to get you to check into Foursquare as well. Another element on the gaming side is the idea of personal achievements. So in this case, someone has just gotten an additional road goodie because they've driven their first 5 miles with Waze. The same will happen if you've driven your first 4-day work week and a number of other elements. So what do you do with these points? Well, one is you can keep track of these achievements. You're competing against one another, and you're building up clout within the community. If you're the first person to drive down a road, your icon will turn into a little Pac-Man. You'll munch the road, and you'll get points for that as well. In addition, we have a web interface where people can edit and tell us information we may not know, such as road direction, and you get points for that. This is Groups, a new social driving feature.
Well, how would you like to get real-time traffic and road reports from drivers like yourself nearby, sent right to your smartphone? That's right. I've got a Droid here, but maybe you got an iPhone. Well, now you can. You can go over to our website and click on traffic at nbc-2.com and download the Waze app. You can see it actually right here, a little download button right there that you can click on. And be sure to join the NBC2 group. You can also visit our homepage here to see what drivers have to say. A little bit ago, we saw somebody posting a little bit of slower moving traffic just to the north of I-75 right there at Martin Luther King. But that's all cleared up and things look good there. That's your NBC2 Traffic Alert.
And of course, again, no texting while driving. So the thing about that is that when you're in the crowdsourcing world, it's very important that you get enough information to have good quality. The quality is good enough that broadcast media companies are beginning to use citizen traffic reports from Waze in their segments. And this was a pretty important milestone for us. Because we're real time, I'll just give you a shot right now. This is Europe right now in real time. We hit 2.2 million drivers last week, most of those in the last 3 to 6 months. We're accelerating rapidly. But again, what's important is not just the number of users, but how engaged they are. So our average user is spending 300 minutes a month driving with our application open. So we're beginning to start to give them enough value to use the application with frequency. In terms of the model, what does this all add up to? Well, we've created a real-time location platform. So every time people are driving, every minute you drive, we're collecting the GPS traces and the timestamps, turning that into our own stack. It's our maps, our navigable map, our traffic, and we've been licensing that information for about 6 months now, and actually already generating revenue on the licensing component. The next step for us is, now that the community is growing, location-based advertising. You know, as an industry, we've iterated from location targeted to location aware, and now we're looking at location guided. The same way that we want to get you to the best route for your commute, we want to do the same thing for your, for example, shopping. And we're getting enough information now that we're really starting to be able to affect behavior. And we've just finished our first trials with this in Israel, and be rolling it out in the US in a couple of months. And that's the summary pitch.
I mean, first of all, I think it's...
May I approach the judges? I feel like I can't really see you well.
Oh, yeah.
You may approach the bench.
Thank you.
I mean, just one comment. I think it's fantastic. I think one of the hardest things with a business like this is just the network effects, and you know, how do you give value to the first user? Because in theory, there shouldn't be any. And I just love the fact that you're using games and achievements and badges and these sorts of things. I think it's really, really very smart. I have one question, which is, I was just playing around with the app here, and how do you? And I guess I noticed a lot of traffic alerts in Paris, and maybe that's because it's snowing, but it seemed like there was a lot of people that were traveling 0 kilometers an hour for sort of 10 hours or something. So which probably speaks to sort of the quality of the data. How do you make sure that sort of you filter out effectively these things that might be just people putting the app on when they're at home?
So the bulk of the algorithms that we employ are around things like taking GPS traces and turning it into the navigable map and turning it into the traffic. And so we're weeding out a lot of pedestrian kinds of things that we intuit, but it's still in a fairly immature state. I've only been here for 2 days, but the traffic has been terrible here. And we have, actually, France is our #3 country, so there are quite a few Wazers here. I imagine that some of the 0 kilometers are maybe people hearing about us here and trying it out, and apparently we're not filtering it out enough yet.
Does the app run in the background?
It does. It always ran in the background, but the iPhone, for example, only let us do it, you know, a few months ago.
And so there's really no interaction required from the...
None at all. We'll guide you by voice. Yeah, and we know if you're driving and that pop-up, if you're driving and you're trying to report or text, we'll block it.
So a couple of questions. One is plans for OEMs to integrate with car manufacturers?
I can't comment on the specifics, but I'll say that we consider ourselves to be an important part of that ecosystem moving forward.
Okay, and also the Garmins of the world and folks like that?
I'm less concerned about the Garmins of the world. I see the personal navigation device space and its declining growth being one of our major opportunities. Particularly as we move to a real-time world. I think that having smartphones in the car is just a fact of life. And when we get into the car itself, it's going to be even better because you start accessing the APIs from the cars, for example, fuel and other safety features. So it'll only get safer in the car. I think that the PNDs in general are going to be a dying breed.
I would think that there's a giant revenue opportunity for you in data analytics and modeling. So based on all this data you collect, you could over time help everyone from public works to consumers understand exactly what time they should leave their house if they want to get to set destination. So, so is that your approach, and have you had discussions with Google?
Okay, 2 questions there.
But they're related because Google does those things well.
But they are related. So we have not had conversations with Google specifically on this. But I will say that in terms of where this is going, I think that clearly, what's important for us is what route shall I take right now? And so there's a predictive component in that. And we have enough historic data now that one of the ways that we track traffic is by, we're able to tell if traffic is going slower or faster on that road segment for this 30-minute period versus the same day a week ago or a month ago or whatever. We haven't implemented anything predictive yet, but I think we have enough data where we're going to start to be fairly accurate in the future casting. But in terms of the APIs, right now we're running off of our own API, and as we move forward this year, we're going to be talking a lot more with the municipalities. We're being used right now by the Department of Transportation in Israel and with a couple of the municipalities in the US as we test this out.
So it sounds like you're not buying maps from anyone, you're just generating them based on the traffic of vehicles. So can you kind of give me a sense of the map coverage you have in any given place? Is the U.S. or Israel your #1 country?
Israel was our first market, and we have huge penetration in the market. We're the best map source, best traffic source, and that's one of the reasons we're generating so much revenue early on. The U.S. has just become our top market, right? It's a tough country, but in the markets where there's high car and smartphone penetration, we're very, very good. So I think that where the bulk of the traffic lies, we're getting to be quite good. In the U.S., we use Tiger as a base. In Israel, it was built from scratch. In some other countries, we are working with commercial partners. So in Latin America, we work with a map provider who actually gave us static data. We converted it to navigable data for them, and now we're both sharing off of that, and we're making major strides in Latin America as well. In France and in Italy, we have licensed a grid, only the grid, and the community has been responsible for building everything up. So there are different phases depending where you are in the world, but Western Europe and US is primary focus, and I think that at the rate we're going to have very, very, very good service across the country and across Western Europe within the next 9 months to 12 months.
How do you market it to the end user? How do people how can you become the dominant application?
Well, app stores have been the primary driver so far for us. We've been featured by Apple, featured by Android. We've been on the Windows Marketplace and featured by Ovi. So for all of the stores that we are on, we've gotten a lot of love from those guys, and that's been the #1 driver of downloads. Now, our goal for this year is distribution, distribution, distribution. We talked OEMs, you saw media companies, and that's really the bulk of the focus there.
Is there any community management with all the ways you? I mean, I'm a user. I don't play that much, but I don't get to interact with other users. How does it feel?
So we don't have really a community management that's hired, but we have the notion of local area managers, which are super users who have gotten a lot of points, who've been contributing to the community. And when from the mobile device, you can open a map problem. You can say, this is an inaccurate turn, this junction you have incorrectly, and they're the ones who go in and fix it. So these guys are just incredibly active, and they want there to be a free alternative to the maps in their country that's not Navteq or TeleAtlas.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.